Welcome to the Silicon Fox podcast, where we explore the habits and stories of high performers. Join us as we dive into their journeys, analyze live blood tests, and break down the science behind key biomarkers to help you optimize your health. I'm your host, Mitchell Eschner, an ex-pro soccer player, a current sponsored hybrid athlete, a health tech founder, and a longevity enthusiast. Caffeine is the most widely consumed psychoactive substance on the planet, with over 2 billion cups of coffee consumed daily. Recent studies show that caffeine's effects on the bodies aren't universal. Genetics, sex, and consumption patterns all influence caffeine's impact. The research reveals that caffeine can simultaneously act as a performance enhancer and as a hormone disruptor, sometimes in the same individual. Before you reach out for that second cup, let's dive into what the latest research reveals about caffeine's complex relationship with your hormones, heart health, and longevity. Today, we're exploring the health benefits and setbacks of caffeine based on emerging studies. Let's start with what we know works. Caffeine is arguably the world's most studied ergogenic aid, and for good reason. When you consume caffeine, it blocks your adenosine receptors in your brain, adenosine being the compound that makes you feel tired. This blockade triggers a cascade of neurochemical events: increased dopamine, enhanced focus, reduced perception of effort, and improved physical performance. The International Olympic Committee recognizes caffeine as a legal performance enhancer, and the research backs this up. Studies consistently show that 3 to 6 milligrams per kilogram of body weight, roughly 2 to 400 milligrams for most adults, can improve endurance performance by 2 to 4%. But here's where genetics enters the picture, and why your response to caffeine might be completely different from your training partners. Your ability to metabolize caffeine is largely determined by variants in the CYP182 gene. About half the population are fast metabolizers, with the AA genotype, while the other half are slow metabolizers, with AC or CC variants. Recent research shows that individuals with AA genotype, the fast metabolizers, experience the most pronounced performance benefits from caffeine. However, for those with the CC genotype, caffeine can actually worsen performance. This genetic lottery explains why some people can drink espresso before bed, while others get jittery from green tea. Now, cortisol is the body's primary stress hormone. Caffeine increases cortisol levels, and this influence becomes even more significant when other stressors are present. Think about it like this: you're exhausted, stressed, not sleeping well, but coffee gets you out of bed. You sip throughout the day to fight fatigue, but despite feeling wired, you're actually deepening your stress response. Cortisol isn't inherently bad. It's essential for getting us moving in the morning and responding to challenges. But chronic elevation is where problems begin. Elevated cortisol levels can lead to a cascade of hormonal imbalances, affecting everything from menstrual cycles to metabolism. Regular coffee drinkers often assume their bodies have adapted and no longer experience cortisol elevation from caffeine. This assumption is only partially correct. Research from 2024 demonstrates that even in habitual caffeine users, caffeine continues to elevate cortisol throughout the day. Recent studies reveal an additional concern: habitual caffeine users become more reactive to psychological stress. This means stressful situations produce more dramatic cortisol responses in regular caffeine consumers compared to non-users. This finding has significant implications for longevity. Chronically elevated cortisol accelerates cellular aging, impairs immune function, and disrupts sleep quality. Essentially, chronic caffeine consumption places the body in a state of persistent low-level stress. There's also a complex relationship between caffeine and testosterone. Caffeine consumption produces a potential increase in testosterone levels. However, this occurs simultaneously with the cortisol elevation previously discussed. The ratio between testosterone and cortisol is crucial for muscle building, recovery, and overall vitality. While caffeine provides a temporary testosterone boost, the concurrent cortisol spike often negates these benefits, particularly in regular users. This dynamic is especially relevant for individuals who exercise regularly or seek to optimize body composition. Pre-workout caffeine consumption may not provide the expected anabolic benefits due to this hormonal interference. Women metabolize caffeine differently than men, with significant implications for hormonal health. Women clear caffeine from their systems more slowly, particularly during the luteal phase of their menstrual cycle, when progesterone levels are elevated. This means identical caffeine doses can produce vastly different physiological effects depending on the menstrual cycle timing. The same cup of coffee that produces mild stimulation during one phase may cause significant hormonal disruption 2 weeks later. Recent research suggests women may be more susceptible to caffeine's disruptive effects on reproductive hormones. Most early caffeine research was conducted on men, leaving significant gaps in understanding female-specific responses. During pregnancy, these effects become even more critical. Caffeine consumption can affect estrogen and progesterone levels during pregnancy, when hormonal changes are already significant. This is why most healthcare providers recommend limiting caffeine during pregnancy. It's not just about birth weight, but also hormonal stability during a crucial developmental period. But here's what makes this topic so nuanced. The effects aren't universal. Some women metabolize caffeine efficiently and experience minimal hormonal disruption, while others find it that even moderate consumption throws their cycles off balance. The key is understanding your individual response. Despite the hormonal concerns, cardiovascular research presents a positive picture for moderate coffee consumption. Recent meta-analysis shows that coffee consumption is protective for heart health. Coffee contains over 1,000 bioactive compounds beyond caffeine, including powerful antioxidants like chlorogenic acids and polyphenols. These compounds reduce inflammation and improve blood vessel function, contributing to cardiovascular protection. Alongside heart health, caffeine enhances cognitive performance through multiple mechanisms. As mentioned earlier, it blocks adenosine receptors that promote drowsiness and increase dopamine signaling in attention networks. Emerging evidence suggests caffeine may support production of brain-derived neurotrophic factor, a protein crucial for brain plasticity and learning. However, chronic caffeine use leads to an increased response to stimulus for adenosine receptors. The brain compensates for blocked receptors by producing more of them, requiring higher caffeine doses for the same cognitive benefits and increasing dependence for normal function. This adaptation process explains why regular caffeine users experience withdrawal symptoms and decreased performance without their usual intake, despite having consumed caffeine for months or years. A major point we've not covered yet is the importance of the caffeine source. Caffeine comes in various intake forms, such as coffee, energy drinks, pills, and pouches. Coffee represents the optimal caffeine source due to its comprehensive bioactive compound profile. The health benefits of coffee often outweigh caffeine's potential negatives due to protective antioxidants and anti-inflammatory compounds. Energy drinks present significant concerns, particularly for adolescents and young adults. Recent research has documented cases of sudden cardiac arrest attributed to energy drink consumption. These products combine high caffeine doses with other stimulants, creating unpredictable physiological interactions. Caffeine pills provide pure caffeine without beneficial compound found in coffee. While allowing precise dosing, they lack protective antioxidants and may mitigate some of the caffeine's negative effects. Caffeine pouches placed between teeth and gums represent a newer delivery method with limited research. These products bypass liver metabolism, potentially creating unpredictable blood caffeine levels compared to oral consumption. Several compounds show promise as caffeine alternatives for cognitive enhancements. L-theanine promotes calm focus without stimulation and demonstrates synergistic effects with small caffeine amounts. Rhodiola rosea, an adaptogenic herb, may enhance cognitive performance under stress conditions. Lion's mane mushroom show potential for supporting nerve growth factor and cognitive function. Bacopa monnieri, a traditional herb, has emerging evidence for memory enhancement capabilities. However, natural alternatives aren't universally safe. Research indicates contradictions for people with certain medical conditions, and supplement quality control remains a significant concern in the largely unregulated industry. Effective caffeine optimization requires attention to timing, dosage, and individual response patterns. Consuming caffeine 90 to 120 minutes after waking avoids interference with natural cortisol rhythms. Avoiding caffeine 6 to 8 hours before bedtime prevents sleep disruption. Cardiovascular research suggests 200 to 400 milligrams daily as optimal for heart health benefits. However, hormonal optimization may require lower doses, particularly for women and slow metabolizers. Periodic caffeine cycling prevents receptor upregulation and maintains sensitivity to beneficial effects. Individual monitoring of cortisol levels, sleep quality, heart rate variability, and subjective energy provides more accurate guidance than general recommendations. In conclusion, caffeine's effects are highly individualized based on genetics, sex, current stress levels, and consumption patterns. Women should pay particular attention to menstrual cycle variations and caffeine responses. Individuals with high baseline stress may need to limit intake to avoid exacerbating cortisol elevation. Moderate coffee consumption appears beneficial for cardiovascular health in most people, while hormonal optimization presents a more complex picture requiring individualized approaches. The future of caffeine research points towards personalized recommendations based on genetic profiles, hormonal status, and individual biomarker responses. Current evidence supports careful self-monitoring and adherence to evidence-based guidelines until more precise personalization becomes available. Until then, evidence-based guidelines combined with careful self-monitoring offers the best approach for optimizing caffeine's role in health and longevity protocols. Thank you for tuning in today. I hope you've gained some insight into this health habit. If you found this episode helpful, be sure to subscribe and share it with others who might benefit. And as always, I encourage you to take charge of your health by staying informed and being proactive about your body signals. Thank you, and we'll see you next time on the Silicon Fox podcast.